Welcome to episode 17 in the Accident Theory series. In previous episodes, we learned that the management oversight and risk tree was developed to change the way accidents are understood and investigated. Rather than treating accidents as random events or the result of individual mistakes, Mort reframes them as system failures that emerge from breakdowns in control, oversight, and decision-making across an organization. Mort defines a mishap as an unwanted transfer of energy, shifting attention away from injuries themselves and toward the mechanisms that allow harm to occur. In today's episode, we will look at recording models. Specifically, we will look at organizing incident data, incident variables, and the Merseyside accident information model. We will end the episode with a look at how to find models in reporting forms. In many organizations, accidents are addressed primarily through accident reporting rather than formal investigation. Completing an accident report often represents the main and sometimes the only structured response to an incident. As a result, recording models play a central role in shaping how accidents are understood, remembered, and interpreted over time. Report forms are designed to capture essential information about what happened, how the event unfolded, and what the outcome was, including injuries, damage, or other losses. This process may involve limited fact-finding, such as basic observations or short interviews, but recording models are not causal investigations. Their purpose is to document observable facts in a consistent and standardized manner, not to explain why an event occurred. Because recording frameworks determine what information is collected, how it is categorized, and what is retained for analysis, they strongly influence what patterns can be identified and what lessons can be learned. In this way, recording models shape not only accident records, but also how safety performance is evaluated and managed within organizations. Accidents are analyzed with the expectation that they will help organizations learn how to make systems safer in the future. However, the mere act of conducting an accident investigation does not by itself lead to improved safety outcomes. An investigation only becomes valuable when its findings are translated into concrete actions, such as changes to equipment design, work procedures, training programs, supervision, or management practices. Many of the hazards identified after accidents could have been detected and corrected through competent inspections, hazard assessments, or proactive safety reviews before an incident occurred. In this sense, investigations do not replace prevention efforts. Instead, they expose gaps in existing controls and reveal where proactive systems failed to anticipate or manage risk. Meaningful safety improvement requires both the careful examination of past events and deliberate as well as sustained remedial action. Beyond their role in examining individual incidents, accidents also function as an important source of safety data when considered collectively. Each event contributes a small amount of information, but when accident data are accumulated across time, locations, or activities, broader patterns and recurring problems can be identified. This aggregated information supports safety evaluation and safety management by helping organizations set priorities, allocate resources, and focus on risks with the greatest potential impact. The initial record of an accident may be informal, incomplete, or emotionally driven, but it is typically followed by a narrative account prepared by an injured worker, supervisor, or safety professional. While these narratives contain valuable detail and context, they are difficult to analyze at scale. Even with advances in technology that improve the analysis of unstructured text, large safety systems continue to rely on standardized data. When thousands of injury claims are generated each year, reviewing each report individually is impractical. Coding accident information into consistent categories and terms allows raw descriptions to be converted into analyzable data, enabling organizations to extract meaningful insights while retaining the information needed to support learning and prevention. When accident information is recorded for analysis, it is the variables within the report that are coded. In the context of work injury and disease data in Canada, Coding systems are designed to capture a small number of core variables that describe the essential characteristics of an incident. The CSA Z795 framework identifies 4 primary variables that form the foundation of injury and illness coding. These variables focus on what the injury is, where it occurred on the body, what directly caused it, and how the injury or disease was produced. Together, they provide a standardized way of describing incidents that allows information from many different workplaces and industries to be compared and analyzed. The first variable, nature of injury, describes the principal physical characteristics of the injury or disease, such as fractures, burns, strains, or respiratory conditions. This variable focuses on the outcome to the worker rather than the circumstances of the event. Closely linked to this is the part of body variable, which identifies the specific body part affected by the injury or disease. These two variables are intentionally connected, as the nature of an injury often depends on which part of the body was involved. The source of injury variable identifies the object, substance, exposure, or bodily motion that directly produced or inflicted the injury or disease, such as machinery, tools, chemicals, or overexertion. Finally, the event of injury or exposure describes how the injury occurred, capturing the mechanism or process that led to harm, such as being struck by an object, slipping and falling, or being exposed to a harmful substance. In some cases, a secondary source may also be recorded. This refers to an object or condition that was involved in the accident but did not directly inflict the injury. For example, a floor may be coded as the source in a fall, while furniture or equipment contacted during the fall could be recorded as a secondary source. In addition to these core variables, other information is commonly collected to support analysis but does not require formal coding. This includes demographic and contextual details such as age, gender, company or industry, and location. While these elements are not part of the injury mechanism itself, they are valuable for identifying trends and risk patterns across different groups or settings. Underlying all coding systems is a taxonomy, which can be thought of as a structured dictionary that defines every possible value a variable can take. The taxonomy ensures that different coders describe similar events in consistent ways, even when the original descriptions differ. Coding may be carried out through structured checklists built into reporting forms, or by having narrative descriptions reviewed and classified by trained personnel, such as safety professionals, compensation board staff, or hospital coders. The number of variables and the level of detail available to the coder depend on the specific coding system in use and the needs of the organization. While different coding taxonomies may vary in structure or terminology, they serve similar purposes and can generally be treated as interchangeable for study and comparison. Coders develop familiarity with the taxonomy they use through training and experience. For example, in Canada, each provincial workers' compensation board maintains its own injury and illness coding manual that is derived from the CSA Z795 framework. While the CSA Z795 standard itself has been withdrawn, its structure and logic continue to shape how work-related injuries and diseases are recorded and classified across the country. These provincial coding manuals are designed to ensure consistency within each jurisdiction, while still allowing injury data to be compared and aggregated at a broader level. As a result, they play a critical role in how occupational injury and illness information is collected, analyzed, and used for prevention and policy development. The coding manuals break each primary variable into a hierarchical set of categories that move from general to increasingly specific descriptions. This hierarchy is supported by detailed definitions and decision rules that guide coders when multiple options appear to apply to a single case. For example, when coding the part of body variable, the coder begins by identifying a broad body region, such as upper extremity or lower extremity, and then progressively narrows the classification to a specific location, such as the forearm, wrist, or finger. This structured approach reduces ambiguity and helps ensure that similar injuries are coded in the same way, even when the original narrative descriptions differ. By promoting consistency and clarity, the hierarchical structure supports reliable analysis across large datasets, enabling meaningful trend identification, comparison across industries or regions, and evidence-based decision-making in occupational health and safety. If accident investigations alone do not automatically improve safety, what organizational conditions or decisions could determine whether investigation findings actually lead to meaningful prevention? Share your thoughts in this episode's group chat or in the comments section if you are following along on social media. Shannon and Manning developed the first Merseyside Accident Information Model, MAIM, in 1980 as an early attempt to improve how accident sequences were recorded and understood. The MAIM model was designed to move beyond simple descriptions of injuries by capturing the chain of events that led to an accident. In its original form, the model allowed investigators to record up to 3 successive unforeseen events, along with the objects involved at each stage. This structure encouraged a more systematic description of how an accident unfolded over time, rather than focusing solely on the final outcome or injury. The International Labour Organization later presented an expanded and refined version of MAIM in the Encyclopedia of Occupational Health and Safety. This revised model addressed a key limitation of the original approach by allowing for an unlimited number of intervening events between the initial unforeseen event and the resulting injury. By removing the restriction on the number of events that could be recorded, the improved MAIM better reflected the complexity of real-world accidents, where multiple interacting actions, conditions, and object interactions may occur before harm is realized. This evolution marked an important step toward more detailed and flexible recording models, emphasizing accident processes rather than isolated moments and supporting deeper analysis of how accidents develop within complex systems. An accident can be described as a single event, or more commonly, as a sequence of events that begins with the first unforeseen event involving the injured person and ends with the events that result in injury. In many cases, the first unforeseen event is itself preceded by one or more earlier events that help explain how the situation developed. Within this framework, the first event in the accident sequence can be clearly defined, while still allowing earlier contributing events to be recorded when relevant. As illustrated in the International Labour Organization's adaptation of the model, the structure can be expanded in multiple directions by recording additional factors associated with each component of the sequence. For example, branches linked to activities and corporal movements can be used to document influencing factors such as psychological conditions, fatigue, medication use, or alcohol consumption. The model can also be connected to a preceding event associated with the initial unforeseen event, which may involve something as routine as walking, previously described by Davies and Manning as a basic corporal movement. In these cases, the coder identifies the primary activity and up to 3 associated corporal movements on the left-hand side of the model. The central portion of the model captures the event sequence itself. From top to bottom, the coder records any preceding event, followed by the first unforeseen event, subsequent intervening events, and finally, the event that results in injury. For each event line, the final column on the right is used to describe the object involved, including its condition at the time of the event, its position, and its movement. Importantly, the number of events recorded is not fixed. The sequence can be expanded or condensed as needed to accurately reflect the complexity of the accident and the level of detail available from the investigation. An example that illustrates how an accident sequence might be coded using the MAIM approach can be seen here, based on an injury to a worker's finger or thumb. At the start of the sequence, the worker is performing a routine task, tidying as part of a refuse collection job. The activity is classified as normal work, with the worker standing beside a trolley and reaching to one side with their right hand. This contextual information establishes what the worker was doing immediately before the accident sequence began. The event sequence then unfolds in stages. In the first event, an object slides off its position. In the second event, the object falls and makes contact with the worker. In the third event, the trolley strikes the worker, further contributing to the incident. In the fourth and final event, the worker sustains an injury to the finger or thumb after being struck by the body of the vehicle, in this case, the trolley. The resulting injury is described as an uncomplicated skin wound, accompanied by a partial amputation of the finger. As this example demonstrates, the final event and injury outcome align closely with the variables used in the CSAZ 795 coding standard, such as the nature of injury, part of body, source, and event. However, MAME captures substantially more information than the CSA coding system, particularly with respect to the worker's activity and the way the accident developed over time. The MAME structure is well suited to taxonomic coding, as each variable can be linked to a defined set of possible values. With appropriate computer support, the model can even be adapted for self-coding, where users are guided through a limited set of response options for each element of the model, improving consistency and data quality. In many cases, the underlying model used to describe an individual accident is not stated explicitly. Instead, it is implied through the structure of the reporting form itself, including the types of questions asked and the response options provided. The design of the form subtly shapes how the event is interpreted and what information is considered relevant. As discussed earlier, accident reports are typically coded to support analysis, and this coding can be carried out in several ways. Some systems rely on structured checklist-style forms, while others involve the manual classification of narrative descriptions by a company safety specialist or by professional coders. Professional coders usually begin with free-form narrative descriptions of the accident, along with any additional information submitted by the person completing the report. The coder's task is to interpret this descriptive information and match it to standardized variable values defined in the applicable coding manual. This process often requires judgment, as the narrative may not use the same terminology found in the coding system. For example, a statement such as, "I twisted my ankle while I was standing on the platform and landed on the sidewalk below," would typically be coded as a fall-related event, even though the word fall does not appear in the description. The specific variables available for coding, as well as the keywords and categories used, depend on the coding system and the organization applying it. Most coding taxonomies are hierarchical in nature. Each variable is broken down into increasingly specific categories to reduce ambiguity and improve consistency. For instance, the part of body variable begins with broad body regions and is then subdivided into more precise anatomical locations until the injured body part can be identified clearly and unambiguously. This hierarchical structure helps ensure that similar injuries are coded in similar ways, even when the original descriptions differ in wording or detail. Despite the structure provided by these systems, there are important limitations to what is recorded and coded at the time of injury. Many potentially valuable variables are often excluded, such as environmental conditions, deviations from procedures or guidelines, interactions between multiple contributing factors, near-miss events, incidents in which no injury occurred, and work-related mental stress and psychological factors that are also frequently underrepresented, even though certain mental stress injuries may be eligible for compensation. While it may be difficult to influence what is captured in provincial or national compensation databases, organizations have the ability to record this additional information within their own internal accident reporting and learning systems. When coding accident data, specificity is essential. For variables such as nature of injury and part of body, the coder typically records the most critical or severe injury. If multiple injuries are present and are of similar severity, a multiple injury code may be used. For example, if several injuries occur within the same body region, such as multiple head injuries, it is more appropriate to code multiple locations within that region rather than multiple body parts. Coding systems often include specific multiple injury categories for cases where different types of injuries, such as fractures and burns or sprains and bruises, are equally severe. Careful and consistent application of these rules improves the quality of the data and enhances its value for analysis, trend identification, and prevention efforts. What risks arise when important factors, such as environmental conditions, procedural deviations, or near misses, are not recorded when coding an injury? Share your opinion in this episode's group chat or in the comments section if you are following on social media. In episode 17, we looked at accident reporting and coding. The key concepts we learned in this episode are: in many organizations, accident reporting is the primary response to incidents, often replacing deeper causal investigation. Recording models strongly influence how accidents are understood because they determine what information is collected, categorized, and retained. Accident reports focus on documenting observable facts about what happened and the outcome, not on explaining why the event occurred. Investigations only improve safety when their findings lead to concrete changes such as improved design, procedures, training, or management practices. Many hazards identified after accidents could have been addressed earlier through proactive inspections and hazard assessments. When accident data are analyzed in aggregate, recurring patterns and systemic issues become visible, supporting better safety decision-making. Narrative accident reports contain valuable detail but are difficult to analyze at scale, making standardized coding essential. Coding systems in Canada are based on a small set of core variables derived from the CSAZ 795 framework. The four primary injury variables are nature of injury, part of body, source of injury, and event of injury or exposure. Coding taxonomies are hierarchical, moving from broad categories to specific values to reduce ambiguity and improve consistency. The Merseyside Accident Information Model, MEM, captures accident sequences by recording multiple events and object interactions, not just the final injury. Many important factors such as environmental conditions, procedural deviations, near misses, and psychological stress are often not coded but can be captured in internal reporting systems to support learning and prevention. COHSI provides its students with a multiple-choice quiz at the end of each episode, which can be used as practice material for the content that has been covered. A free version of the quiz can be accessed by anyone following our content on social media by using the QR code shown on the screen. If you are a COHSI student, please complete the discussion board topics found throughout this unit, as well as the episode quiz. Both of these tasks can be found under their appropriate tabs in your learning portal. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to your course instructor. Thank you for watching and have a safe day.